Are you an entrepreneur or ready to become a boss? Welcome to Hawaii Boss, the business podcast made in Hawaii, where you will hear from island movers and shakers on who they are and their impact on our state. And now, step into the office of your host for Hawaii Boss, David Pettijohn.
Aloha, Hawaii Boss podcast crew listening in out there or watching in. You know, it's a special place to be when you're watching in because you can go on to YouTube. But if you listen, you know, you're walking, you're jogging, you're doing all your stuff. Yeah, it's a good time to listen, and especially when we go to the boss's office. Today, we're going to the East Coast. We go to the boss's office to find out really what the best way to move forward. Post-pandemic, we were in the middle of pandemic, trying to figure it out now. Post-pandemic economy, sort of like, don't know what's happening. We're very excited to bring a special guest with us today. She's a Chief Joy Officer, Patrice Tanaka. Patrice, welcome.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you're welcome. This is the second time you're on. I'm really grateful for it because people ask why we reach all the way to New York City, but Patrice is Hawaiian. We can say she's from Hawaii. Exactly. She claims Hawaii and born and raised, and then she's had a tremendous experience now in New York City doing all these fabulous and wonderful things. Patrice, what's changed for you as the pandemic, as you've through the pandemic, maybe one or two lessons that you're as we're coming out of it, one or two things that like, I changed, something's different.
Yeah.
New vision.
It only reinforced to me how important it is for me to actively live my purpose every single day. Now, I've been living my purpose now for 20 years. And so I've had a good long time to live my purpose, but especially during the past 2+ years of pandemic, racial injustice, riots, insurrection, the increasing polarization of this country, and for us here on the mainland, increasing anti-Asian hate and violence. All of that is happening, but I didn't allow that to derail me because I was much more inner directed and focused and driven to just continue actively living my life purpose. And because of that, the past 2+ years have been among the most productive and positive years of my life. So it's been good.
Did that surprise you?
Kind of, because all around me, people were talking about how terrible they were feeling and how this is the worst time in their life. And, they were constrained. We were all constrained, but, you decided to start up Hawaii Boss podcast during the pandemic, right? Because you couldn't get out and about to meet people. So you found a way to actually meet people, from your from home or from
starting to find my people out there. They're out there.
Exactly. So, I think we always have to navigate challenging times. And I think that if you're not inner directed and focused and driven by your purpose, it's easy to be affected and even derailed by external events. We have to be aware of what's happening externally, but we can't be negatively impacted by every external event that is happening, because God knows there have been a lot of negative things that have happened in the past 2+ years, right?
So you're saying purpose is that sort of that internal driver that helps you sort of just hustle on past whatever those challenges are.
Exactly. And if you don't know your purpose, then of course you are much more susceptible and vulnerable to anything that's happening externally. And that's not a really good place to be. I mean, you have to be aware of what's happening externally, but you shouldn't be negatively impacted and derailed from what it is that you're trying to do in the world. And our life purpose, as we talked about the last time, is about how we leverage our talent, our expertise, and our passion in service of other people and our planet. And that's a very important thing for us to accomplish, because this is what we feel is most important to accomplish in our lives. So, we want to make sure that every single day we're actively living our purpose and accomplishing what is most important for us to accomplish in our one very brief and precious life, because we don't know how much time we have, right? So we have to make sure to make every single day count, right?
Right. Well, I think so. Yeah. If when you said derailed, or if it's not a good place to be, where you don't feel effective, you're not able to move forward, you're not able to, but we still as people want to be successful. So that's a real contradiction where we're not being successful, but we still have this. And why do you think we avoid that, trying to find that purpose?
Because it's scary. Because if you know your purpose, then you're accountable for living that purpose. And most people don't want to be accountable. So if they have a vague sense of what their purpose is, that's better, because then they can't be accountable. But the problem with that lack of clarity is that if you don't know your purpose, you can't actively live it and accomplish what you believe is most important to accomplish in life, right?
Well, you can do it, but you might not be happy about it while you're doing it. A lot of people go and they're doing it and they're not happy about it.
Well, I think what is the bigger concern is, if I try to live my life purpose, then am I going to be able to get or maintain a good job that will pay my expenses and allow me to live comfortably? Maybe it's better that, because people equate living their purpose as, doing something that
follow your passion, passion one that doesn't really have any definition, but I'm going after it. But what is it? Right.
And maybe won't allow me to live my life in a comfortable way and take care of myself and my loved ones, right?
But you want to be a Shakespearean actor, you may not have it may be your passion or whatever, but to find a way also to take care of yourself and be a responsible person at the same time.
But what people seem to falsely believe is that you live your purpose only through your work. Your work is only one area of your life. You live your purpose in every area of your life. That's why it's called a life purpose, not a job purpose,
right,
or career purpose, right? You live your purpose in every area of your life. However, if you don't have clarity about your purpose, you can't live it in any area of your life, right?
Oh, that's powerful.
Right. Yes, yes. So clarity about our life and leadership purpose is key, I think, for a successful, fulfilling, and joy-filled life, which is what we all want, right?
Right. I think a lot of people do define themselves by their work or their degree or their whatever, and then they sort of wrap all of that around that, and then they realize that that's really not, this is who I think I'm supposed to be, but this is really who I am over here, and that disconnect.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Challenging. So it must be challenging as you go in. That's the major focus of your consultancy. You go into businesses and you talk to folks. Is everyone just open and welcome to this? Or again, is it a slow slog sometimes, or is it just as quick as the pace of someone discovering their purpose?
Well, interestingly enough, I actually think the pandemic has made people much more introspective, and companies are forced to be kind of introspective too, because they understand that their employees are concerned about things other than just making sure that my company, my organization is growing and thriving and being successful, right? Employees are distracted by their own distress and concerns about their own immediate
This is a cell phone, if you can see it. We have much more distractions now than we used to have.
Absolutely. There are a lot of distractions. So I forgot what I was saying.
So when you're working with these folks and during the pandemic, people became introspective and trying to find, so this gave them an opportunity to really say, okay, do I want to keep living like this, or I want to do something different?
Yes. And in fact, the Great Resignation and even quiet quitting is attributed to employees kind of disengage from their organizations, from their companies. And so McKinsey and Company has been doing a lot of research during the past 2 years to find the intersection of life purpose and organizational purpose, because there's a lot, they believe that if organizations are able to help their employees discover their life and leadership purpose, they're going to be better able to engage them with the organization's purpose to help drive the business forward, right?
There has to be some alignment, but it doesn't have to be complete and, just utter.
Right. But if organizations take the position that it's none of our business what our employees' individual purpose is, we just need them to engage with the purpose of the organization, that's a bit unrealistic.
Right.
Totally discounting and dismissing what's important to employees, right?
Well, if you missed
purpose, has become, you can't actually pick up any kind of business magazine or periodical or podcast without bumping into purpose, life purpose, and
purpose, vision, sort of real
exactly.
Clear, real clear where we're going. There was this, I was just listening to a podcast, something like that online, but there was a different way to look at things. There was a story of a guy in the Middle Ages or something like that. He's pushing a rock through the mud. The guy asked him, "Hey, what are you doing there?" "Well, I'm just pushing this rock through the mud here." And then the other guy's going, "Hey, what are you doing there with that rock?" "Well, I'm building a cathedral."
Right.
It's a different sort of component. If it makes that work light if you're you're putting the one brick in the cathedral over here rather than if I'm just slogging through the mud every day.
Exactly.
Well, and so as you go in and you consult with these folks and you tell them, hey, here's how we need to go and we need to find that intersection, as you say. It's real interesting because you make some comments throughout your some of your discussion about millennials and these different generations that are coming up. They just don't play this hierarchical armies, top down, militaristic sort of or corporate sort of thing. My daughter, I asked her, she's 21. I said, what's the deal? How do you guys think about work and stuff like that? Well, she said, there's so much expected of us that sometimes we just don't want to give it, because you don't see me. So that's their way of sort of like, hey, see me.
Yes.
They're holding out.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. In fact, there's a great new book that I haven't read yet. I bought it. I haven't read it yet. And I wish I had it here. It was written by Brandon Peele. And I think it's Work Purpose Nation or Nation Purpose Work. I'm so sorry, Brandon, but it's a great book. And he makes a point that employees can't really engage with other employees unless they're really in touch with their own self and their own purpose. And they are much more able to connect with others through purpose and values and actually see the company's communication or expression of their business purpose and connect with their organization's purpose through their own purpose. But they have to connect with themselves first before they can connect with other employees and with the purpose of their organization. So it just kind of makes sense, right?
It does, but somehow I guess they try and, where do you see this as a value for folks who are younger? I know that your work with the Girl Scouts, that must be some of your purpose, is to help these young ladies to catch their own vision early. Yeah.
Well, my purpose is to choose joy, to be mindful of that joy, and share joy with others. Okay. So it's not very specific to any one organization.
Sure.
It's about me choosing joy because the reason that I came up with that purpose 20 years ago was that my life at the time was unjoy. So I was trying to get from unjoy to joy. And what I did was just break down the steps to get from unjoy to joy. So I said, okay, first you have to choose joy because people choose all kinds of things, but it's important for me to choose joy if I want to stay in that space. And then I have to be mindful of all the joy in my life, because if I'm not mindful of the joy, it's like you didn't even have any joy. And then finally, and importantly, I have to share that joy with others, because the more you share, the more abundance you create for yourself, right? I share joy. I generate a lot of joy for myself and other people. So it was just a matter of kind of focusing on that purpose. So one of my choices of joy is the Girl Scouts. because Girl Scouts is the largest girl serving organization in the country dedicated to leadership development. And I personally believe that until we can achieve gender equity, we women are going to be having to fight for our rights, rights that we thought we won 40 years ago. So gender equity is really important. And so my choice to continue working for the Girl Scouts is really important. And I am actually the longest serving trustee on the Girl Scouts of Greater New York board in New York, because if anything, there's even greater need to support girl leadership development, so we can have more women leaders at every table.
Right. Well, and that's true. Certainly in the work I'm in nursing homes, it's very high. Nurses, and most of them are female women, and also most of them from the Philippines. Anyway, it's very different culture here in Hawaii as we try to help them to find their purpose. Because again, there's a cultural gap here that we try to try and understand. And sometimes for these mainland companies that come in here and try to, they don't see the people. They see the numbers, but they don't see like, hey, how to really make this done is there's people that have, 2 or 3 jobs here with 3 families living in one room, what's happening.
Right.
So it's like being able to see others. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why it's important for businesses to communicate their purpose, their business purpose, because then you make yourself fully known from the get-go, who you are, what you're committed to doing, and how you serve the community at large. If you don't do that for yourself so that you can proactively communicate it, people are always going to try to define you and put you in a box of their choosing. Right. And you don't want that. You want to proclaim who you are and what you're committed to doing and how you serve the community.
Yeah, you bring it all outward. You kind of like, here's what it is. I don't have any agenda over here that I'm kind of like I'm doing over there, because that's where the trust issues start happening.
And here's the thing. A business purpose is as valuable for internal stakeholders as it is for external stakeholders. You need to give employees a reason to believe why they're working for your organization, right? And
how does it meet their needs?
Yeah, and feel good about working for your organization, and have that clarity about who your organization is. Now, one of my favorite business purpose statements is from Unilever. In just 4 words, right? Their business purpose is to make sustainable living commonplace. 4 words.
Wow.
All of 150,000 Unilever employees globally can probably recite the business purpose of Unilever, and they understand what Unilever is committed to doing. Every single person in R&D at Unilever understands what innovation means at Unilever, right? And so it's a great way to focus not just your internal stakeholders, but first and foremost your internal stakeholders, but also communicate externally to customers, consumers, suppliers, shareholders, and the community at large, what it is that your organization stands for. And it's a minority of organizations that are actually doing it. However, it's becoming increasingly more and more every day, especially since August 2019, when 181 CEOs who are members of the Business Roundtable actually got together to redefine the statement of purpose of a corporation. It's no longer just about serving shareholders. It's about serving all stakeholders and creating value for all stakeholders and contributing to the greater good, right? So that's why increasingly more CEOs of Fortune 500 and 1,000 companies are communicating their business purpose, because they know that it's important for all of their stakeholders.
Right. Not only that they have that purpose, but that it's reflected in all of the activities throughout the organization, that it doesn't it's not just a talk the talk.
Right. They have to operationalize purpose in the organization. And because if it's just, message that they're communicating with.
It's just it doesn't drive results. It doesn't drive through the company.
Right. It's companies, organizations that operationalize purpose that see the greatest benefit. And there's all kinds of research showing the benefits of operationalizing purpose within an organization, right? I can't rattle them off now, but it's, enhanced brand value and reputation, and, longer employee tenure, increased productivity and profitability. Again, there's a lot of research.
But those can't be placed first as the, and then work re-engineer it backwards. It has to come from from that idea, that mindset.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, is it tough sometimes for people to get on board? Or are they realizing that there's no other way? Well, they find satisfaction in it, so they really want to?
I guess I can see it I can tell how much more increase there is on the topic of purpose, life purpose, and organizational purpose. And in fact, I remember there is one literature review that I saw in 2015, that over a 20-year period between 1995 and 2015, there was a 5-time increase in the words business/organizational purpose, right? That 5-time increase. But between 2013 and 2015, 2/3 of that increase took place. So when I saw that in 2015, I knew we were at the beginning of a big trend in business, a mega trend. And in 2019, when those 181 CEOs of the Business Roundtable actually got together to redefine the statement of purpose of a corporation, that to me was when was a significant milestone in the whole purpose journey of our country and corporate America. I mean, we're still on that upward trajectory.
Yeah, we have to figure this out too, because there's these larger and larger growing. I'm curious how Amazon, drives down from all. I mean, it's such a huge multinational. How these large corporations can push these kind of down. Sometimes they'll segment so that they can have specific purpose more direct for that sort of operation or that type of business. So yeah, there has to be people always engaging in this sort of creating. Does purpose change over time?
Well, and I think you should have one purpose for your whole organization.
Okay.
And many of the top organizations that we know, have a business purpose. Like Microsoft's purpose is to, help or enable every individual and every organization to achieve more. And Deloitte, their purpose is to make an enduring impact that matters. So companies, and Google's is to, organize the world's information and make it accessible and useful for people. Something, I'm paraphrasing it, but it's something like that.
Yeah.
So they have clarity that their business serves the greater good in some way. And that's really important for employees to understand that that's what our organization is trying to do, aside from just achieving increases in productivity and performance, right? That's not something that employees can necessarily warm up to and feel good about, right?
Yeah. Oh boy, quarterly profits are up this way.
Yeah. But I'm sure it does.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sure. Obviously, if productivity and profitability is up, they will see it in retention of jobs and maybe increase in salaries and benefits. But really, you want more than that from employees. You want people who are kind of believers in the organization, right? Because that's where the greatest unleash of productivity is, when you can really actually, kind of touch the hearts and minds of your people and engage them, right?
Right.
In fact, Satya Nadella is the only CEO that I know who actually speaks about the importance of Microsoft not only having a business purpose, but that every employee at Microsoft is able to actively live their purpose through the vehicle of Microsoft. He wants employees to be able to say, I don't work for Microsoft, Microsoft works for me, which is the position that you as a CEO want to get to, right? Where your employees feel that working for you is to their benefit.
Right. Then they don't even look for anywhere else. When the call comes for, hey, come work for us, they're like, no, I'm happy with my family over here.
Yeah, because most other organizations are not looking to have you live your purpose through their organization. But if your employer, like Microsoft, is encouraging you to do exactly that, it's going to be harder to hire away someone like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of work to do for businesses to do to the messaging that goes out must be consistent. The activities of it's really a comprehensive sort of, like you say, operationalizing it as a comprehensive requirement. Is that what your as your consultancy does, go in and help them
that's part of what I do. And in fact, I want to give a shout out to a local Hawaiian company. It's UHA Health Insurance.
Okay.
And the CEO, Howard Lee, is a great guy. And I actually worked with all of his employees a few years ago to help them discover and articulate so they can actively live their purpose.
Right.
And Howard's purpose, I mean, that's pretty enlightened. And then help UHA with its own business purpose. And Howard, the CEO's life purpose is to love and to be loved. I mean, that's a pretty powerful and impressive statement for someone, who is a CEO. Usually CEOs try to hide behind something that sounds a little more business-like, right?
Right.
No, Howard is just letting himself be who he is and to communicate what's most important to him. And so I have to give him big ups. Kudos. Yeah. For being that honest and bringing himself to work and, being who he is to all of his employees.
Yeah. When you go down and sit with the boss and that's kind of their, like on their nameplate there, I want to be loved and I want to love people and people love me, that's a great aspiration in life generally.
Right, as a human being, that's what we want, right? It's not just as a business purpose. If we want a successful, fulfilling, and joy-filled life, it's got to be filled with love, right? And not just love from and for your family, but love from and for everyone that you
you should treat them all the same. It shouldn't be different with my family. I treat them this way, but I turn into the business guy when I come over and when I do start working with these people and I'm different and I start, but then, it's, then you become like a sort of a bifurcated person and you're sort of like, you're not true to yourself.
Exactly. Bifurcated person is a much less powerful person. You want to bring your whole self to the party, right? Whether it's business or personal.
Right. You can have fun at both. There's a time to balance it, but learning to balance that is tough for folks, trying to be, trying to maintain professionalism and especially young kids coming out, they don't know how to act in the sort of these environments and things like that. So, what do you say to the young people out there to help them to find their purpose so that when they start going into this world that they can, feel confident that they can make a difference and not just be a cog in the wheel?
Yeah. Well, first they have to have clarity about their life and leadership purpose. That's why I really believe that every young person 18 plus would really be equipped better for life if they knew their purpose, right? Because if they knew their purpose, it will inform every decision they make going forward. If they're going to college, it'll inform the classes and the majors that they decide to undertake, the kind of internships they might seek, the kind of jobs they might pursue, the kind of extracurricular activities they engage in. It will inform everything they do. If they don't know their purpose, then really they're making decisions based on things like, oh, my friends are doing this, so I should do this too. Or my mother or my father want me to do this, so maybe I should, pursue this career. That's a bad idea.
You find a lot of unhappy doctors and lawyers.
And recovering lawyers, right. So I think you need to be inner directed and focused and driven. And that only happens if you have clarity about your life purpose. So I do a lot of work with college students, actually, and professional organizations, especially diverse young professionals, because I consider what I do, which is to equip them with clarity about their life and leadership purpose, as a competitive advantage, because most people don't know their purpose. So they're off, kind of not in a very focused and directed way. But if you know your purpose, you are much more focused and directed and self-driven.
Yeah, the little things don't bother you. As obstacle, a thing in your road is just a thing in the road because you can see it out there where you're trying to go.
Right.
And so you can find creative ways to get around it. Yeah.
Yeah. So a boss who's like a pain, or a colleague who's a pain, or a client who's a pain, these are things that you're just going to have to navigate around, because you have a bigger purpose in life than being derailed by any of these temporary, situations.
Sure. Well, it's, and you just keep going though. So this why I want to talk to you, because a lot of people say you're legendary in the business and these kind of things. What keeps? I think your purpose keeps you going. Again, I don't want to, but things change over time. I work in nursing homes, and so I learned about gerontology. There's old. And I talked to my mom about this, there's old, there's all these different, there's new chapters. How about we say that come to people as we age. Where do you, as you move into a space in your life where you've accomplished so many things, and where do you see it ending up? I mean, again, retirement is this dirty word sometimes for folks, but is that even in your vocabulary?
I don't think I could retire and not do anything, because frankly, since I left agency life, which is a crazy busy 24/7 life,
Right.
And I'm actually probably busier now than I was when I was working at my own agencies, but busier doing things that really matter to me, right? Yesterday was probably my busiest day in this month of September, which has been my busiest month ever since I started.
I've seen you all over the place. You are all over in the media right now.
Yeah, well, because there's so many things. People ask me to do things, and if I feel like, yes, that's something I want to get involved with, I'll say yes. If it's not, I'm not going to say yes. But there's so many things that I'm interested in that, I do want to get involved with in some way. I can't be full bore involved as I am in certain organizations and certain causes, but there's things I can do to support, an organization that I can't give a ton of time to. I can connect them to 6 or 7 people that would be helpful for them to know, right? Because the benefit of doing a lot of things and working on a lot of councils and boards and, is that you meet a lot of interesting people who are themselves, doing interesting work. And so there's always someone that I meet that could be served by, meeting someone I've met along the way who's already engaged in that work, right?
So therefore you help them engage joy because it's something what they want to do.
And it brings me joy. Like I was saying to people, this is Friday, right? The best, I was so busy this week, all in doing good things. But the 2 most important things that I did this week to me were helping 2 young people, one who just graduated from Penn State and was looking and wants to work for the NFL. And I actually know somebody who works at the NFL in communication. So I connected them, and he's like thrilled. I met another person through a former client of mine who's trying to help this young person. She just graduated from the Alvin Ailey Fordham School and is a dancer. And she is doing nannying work right now because she can't get a job as a dancer. I'm actually on the board of a dance organization. So I connected her with the executive director to ask if there was a teaching artist position that we were looking to hire. And in fact, we're looking to hire teaching artists. So I was able to connect that person. To me, that is like, that's really the benefit of all the work that I've done in my.
So this isn't even work for you. This is just your life now.
Yeah. It's kind of like being Santa at Christmas, because I know so many people that are like me, willing to help young people or people who are trying to make a difference and just connect them. Right. I mean, how difficult is that?
Right. With real people that have shared. I think a lot of kids, they feel isolated right now about who do I talk to about this? They're so connected, but they're really isolated still with real people. Right.
And I say to young people, reach out to people that you see doing work in areas that you like. See if you can get, a 15-minute Zoom call with them, like a 15 minutes of mentoring. Right. And they have to reach out, and they can do that pretty efficiently and effectively. If people reach out to me on LinkedIn, young people especially, and say, I would really love,
to be on a podcast. I would really love for you to be on a podcast like that. I'd reach out on LinkedIn. Or
a Zoom call with you just to, for whatever reason.
Right.
I'm going to say yes, right? I mean, because I can schedule these when I can do them. And most people who are established in their life or their profession are willing to extend a helping hand to young people. And I think young people have to know they have to be, willing to proactively reach out.
Reach out for the hand and
ask. I told this on a webinar the other day. One of my most successful mentees was actually, I met her at an award ceremony where I was receiving an award, and she came up to me and said, will you give me 10 minutes of mentoring? I said, of course, let's set something up. She said, no, I mean now. I mean, like right now. I said, oh, okay. So we sat down at one of those cocktail tables, and I just rattled off some things. And we've been very close ever since. And she's been amazing in her career because she who would come up to somebody at an award ceremony where you're being recognized and ask you to mentor them for 10 minutes.
Takes a lot of chutzpah there.
But it pays off when you have a lot of.
It's a little scary, but yeah, it doesn't take much. It's just a little bit of fear, like, hey, I'm this, but you have to have your not little elevator speech, but like your purpose. Kind of like, here's what I'm trying to, here's me, here's what I'm trying to do, and here's why I want to talk to you.
Yes, for 10 minutes. Who's owed to that, right?
Yeah, so you do have to do some preparation. It's just not like, hey, I want to be a mentee, you tell me everything to do and I'll do it, but you have to, it's an engagement. It's,
Right.
Well, that's an important part of leadership, I think, and you've done that. You've also, you're writing books. Professional Performance 360 is, I think, probably an extension of what you do already with your consultancy. And I guess you're going in and help folks to see all their blind spots and help them to.
Yeah, all I did was contribute a chapter to that book that was co-authored by Richard Branson and other, other leaders. Sure. And so I decided to write a chapter on what I considered, having clarity about your life and leadership purpose. And that is that having clarity about your life and leadership purpose is a competitive advantage, because I don't know something else that can focus and drive us to accomplish what we say matters most in the most efficient way. Okay? Right. And you want to be efficient because we don't know how long we have to live, right?
Right.
We could die tomorrow. You want to have lived every day until that day when you drop off, living your life purpose and doing what you think is most important to do, leveraging your talents, your expertise, and your passion in service of other people and our planet, right?
Well, listen, it sounds like this your life change that happened in 2002, like you said, begrudgingly, as you said, one time in the past that, you kind of got dragged kicking and screaming into sort of this new identification of your purpose and your understanding through an executive coach. Tell us sort of an extension of a mentee. What is your experience with that? And do you still have a coach, or do you coach yourself?
I guess I do a lot more coaching of anyone who needs my services. Like one of the engagements I'm doing right now is for St. Francis College in Brooklyn Heights. And every semester I teach Discover Your Life and Leadership Purpose workshop as part of their Franciscan Career Transformations class. And
Gotcha.
So I'm working with 25 young people to help them discover and be able to articulate their life purpose in a succinct statement so they can use it to introduce themselves going forward and to give them clarity about what it is that they're here to do, in the world, in their one very brief and precious life. So it's like,
Well, again, if you could wake up in the morning and have that instead of like having all the tasks that are lined up against you, if you had this purpose that woke you up in the morning and hopefully through our striving to find joy based on your model, that the planet then becomes one joyful planet. And
exactly. That's why Joyful Planet is the name of my consultancy, but also my vision for the planet. Are 7.9 billion people all living their purpose and leveraging their talents, their expertise, and their passion in service of other people and our planet. That's how together we can create a more joyful planet, right?
That's absolutely true. Patrice, you're a superstar for the podcast, the Hawaii Boss podcast crew over here. But we want to know a little bit more about it because, we're stuck on this little island, and you had the gumption to get out there in the Big Apple, New York City. Tell us about how living in the Big Apple is these days.
Well, it's coming to life. I mean, the streets are very crowded as they once were. Vehicular traffic and
all the
traffic. Oh my God! Sometimes it's like I can hardly wait to get home and not be, down in the fray of things.
Right.
So.
Well, have you been to any shows?
I haven't been to theater, but tomorrow I'm going to see a friend of mine who's performing at the Metropolitan Opera. He has a small role in the opera Idomeneo. And so we're going to go see him there and then have dinner with him after. And so it's exciting. That's what I love about New York, right? We have so many cultural riches. But, I was going to try to get home to Hawaii in November, but now, my plans have changed. So I'll probably come home in April. But I am always still, dying to get home to Hawaii. So here is a request for you and your viewers.
Okay, all right. We're ready.
Yes. If there are organizations, for-profit or non-for-profit, who are interested in working with me, I could do either a live workshop, I'll come home to Hawaii, or a webinar to help your employees, your workforce, discover their life and leadership purpose, or help your organization discover and articulate your business purpose and help you to operationalize it. I can do that. Or I'm looking to work with leadership academies, any leadership academies in Hawaii who want to equip their the participants in their programs with clarity about their life and leadership purpose, because this will, as I say, focus and drive them to accomplish what they say matters most in life.
Right.
So please think about me.
And see, that's why I wanted the Hawaii Boss goes to the Boss Off to get these kind of resources for our folks over here in Hawaii, because really, truth of the matter is there's sometimes we're a little bit behind in some of the, we have a little bit of the way that we do things here, and sometimes, accepting new things, but joy seems to, and finding your purpose seems to align with aloha pretty well.
It does. And I try to live the aloha spirit. That is something that I carry with me always. And I try to live the aloha spirit here on the mainland, especially in New York City, where we sometimes need a lot of aloha spirit to kind of get along.
Mhm. Well, if in Honolulu, same thing, you know, there's honking horns and stuff, but I think New York's got a little special brand of, you know,
Yeah,
up yours.
exactly.
You know? But I've only visited once. We'd like to visit some more. My daughter's an inspiring sort of operatist or sort of a show performer, musician.
Oh, how
Yeah, so we're doing
great.
some things up at the Diamond Head Theater. They built a brand new theater up here that they're about ready to open up. And so there's you know, Honolulu has some things, but a lot of people do as they come here, they're kind of like, oh, it doesn't have the same stuff. You know, I was talking to a person from Korea. She said, you know, Korean Seoul, we have all this stuff and shows and the culture and all that. And it's a little bit limited, but I think we try here.
Yeah. Hawaii has other stuff. Each place has stuff
Right.
that is like nowhere else. And
Right.
everybody in New York is dying to get to Hawaii. So, you know, and I'm lucky in that I have connections to Hawaii and New York. And I always want to maintain those connections. Two very important places to me and my heart.
Are you able to get any Hawaiian food over there in New York?
Actually, there are a few Hawaiian restaurants. And in fact, there's one that opened not too far from here, and I haven't checked it out yet. It's called Hawaiian Brothers. I guess Hawaiian food. I'm not quite sure.
Plate whatever.
Yeah. So I definitely want to check that out.
Awesome. Get some lau lau and some, you know.
Yes, lomi
Anyway.
salmon. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, hey, I'm so glad that you're doing what you're doing and that you came on and blessed our Hawaii Boss podcast group over here with some of your wisdom and knowledge. And we hope that you just keep going and sharing that joy. And again, for all those folks that you just invited here in Hawaii who want to have a little bit more joy and a little bit more purpose in their company or in their life, it's joyfulplanet.com. Is that right? And they get to talk to the Chief Joy Officer, Patrice Tanaka.
Yeah.
Patrice.
And you can email me, patrice@joyfulplanet.com.
Awesome.
I'm here. Thank you, David. It was
Thank you so much.
A pleasure.
And when you get over here, you'll have to come to our live spot and we'll talk some more.
Yes. I would love to see you. And you come here and visit me in New York.
Oh,
or
hey.
your daughters.
That's for sure.
Right?
That's right.
Okay.
Thank you, Patrice. Take care and aloha.
Aloha.
Make sure to subscribe to Hawaii Boss and follow us on social media at Hawaii Boss Podcast at the links in the description. We'll see you soon in the boss's office.